Carlo Molino, one of the most famous Turin architects of the 20th century, was a person full of passions and interests from a young age. His eclectic personality led him to explore different worlds, and among these the speed he pursued by flying with gliders and propeller airplanes could not be missing. The passion for cars and competition, however, was born late, when Molino was already over 50 years of age, thanks to his acquaintances. It all began in Turin in the Boniscontro pharmacy, owned by his friend Mario da Monte, another eclectic character of the good Turin bourgeois. Dr. da Monte was a member of Racing Club 19, the racing team founded in Turin after the World War II by non-professional drivers, and already had several participation in the most important international competition, such as the Targa Florio, the Mille Miglia, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Furthermore, da Monte was a client of Molino, who had previously redesigned both the interiors of the pharmacy and those of his apartment. Towards the evening in the pharmacy, Enrico Nardi, a well-known engine tuner, Gino Munaron, and the Valenzano brothers, also drivers and members of the Racing Club 19, could also meet for a chat. Gino Valenzano will drive the Alfa Romeo 1900 Supersport Zagato owned by Molino, while he will be the navigator at the 6th Sestria Rally 1955, where they will finish first in the category. Da Monte thus proposed himself to his friends as the financier and coordinator of a new challenge, bringing to Le Mans a prototype in the smallest category, the 750 Sport, built by exploiting the individual skills of each of his friends. Nardi will take care of fine-tuning the engine supplied by da Monte, a Giannini 4-cylinder twin-cam 734cc, while Molino will design the body. Nardi built also the chassis, a simple structure composed by a trapezoidal element on which all the mechanical supports will be welded at his workshop. From the front end, the sliding pillar suspension of the Lancia Appia were chosen, while the rigid axle of the Fiat 1100 was mounted on the rear with a differential move close to the left wheel. The running structure weighs 322 kilos. The engine, however, was detuned from 62 horsepower to 55 horsepower, replacing the double-barrels Weber carburetors with 4 single-barrel Dall'Orto carburetors derived from the motorcycles. Molino, enthusiastic, dives into the creation of the body. Studying the aerodynamics of the body of the Oscar 1100 with which da Monte raced at Le Mans the year before, the idea of a very profiled, narrow vehicle with seat in a longitudinal line took shape. As Molino progressed in the development of the project, an asymmetric vehicle appeared on paper with the driver's seat on the right in a higher position than everything else. The solution chosen involved two separate bodies joined at the bottom by a sort of aerodynamic beam. On the right, there are the driver, the petrol tank, and two wheels. On the left, the engine, the transmission, and the other two wheels. Molino solves the problem of the braking system with a solution borrowed from aeronautical engineering, combining the usual drum brakes, which are inefficient at high speed if overheated, with an horizontal wing recessed into the central part of the body, which can be opened into stage and controlled by the pedal positioned to the left of the clutch pedal. In short, a real aeronautical flap. The dimension of the aerodynamic brake and the central section were calculated by his friend, the engineer Barba Navaretti, who gives a negative incidence of 3 degrees in order to create, theoretically, a negative downforce of around 30 kilos. The cooling system was also the work of Molino, and it was made up of a bundle of brass tube of oval section curved at the front end which match the profile of the central section of the vehicles, which takes on the function of a deporting wing, tending the press vehicle to the ground and favoring the cooling of the radiant mass. The test of the chassis, on which a normal radiator and a standard steering wheel are mounted, were conducted by Gino Munaron. After a few sections, it was decided to move the engine back 35 centimeters compared to the original design to better distribute the weight of the masses. As a result, it will also be possible to taper the left section more. All the details of the bodywork, given its unusual shape, were elaborated and sold by Rocco Motto, a trusted craftsman who was very skilled in modeling aluminium, using aluminium sheets 8 to 10 thick. Ultimately, the car completed in his workshop will weigh 450 kg dry. Since the passenger compartment of the car was very narrow, suitable for a person with a maximum height of 1.7 meters, Molino also designed the steering wheels, later built by Nardi, with a semicircular shape so as to allow the driver to easily reach the gear lever, which is positioned centrally between the legs, like on the Cisitalia single-seater cars. The rear view mirror is completely retractable by a control inside the passenger compartment. The car was approved by the Turin Motor Vehicle Department with the office number 955.3 and therefore received the license plate Torino 181452. Molino applied the logo he designed on the right side, which bore the writing Dal Molnar, an acronym made up of the three surnames Da Monte, Molino and Nardi. As per the regulation, all prototype cars intending to participate in the 24 Hours of Le Mans must be previously approved by the Race Organizing Commission. So, the French Automobile Club de l'Ouest Technical Commission arrived in Turin on April 1955 and was amazed seeing a car so out of the ordinary. The inspection, however, gave a positive result, and the car was entered in the competition with the number 61. In the meantime, Molino had the opportunity to test it on the Stupinigi road, while Munaron carried out also some speed tests on the Autodromo of Monza circuit, where the car reached 215 km per hour on a straight line. The group of friends was galvanized, and on Saturday 4 June 1955 they loaded the bisiluro onto the trolley and attached it to the Damonte's Fiat 1100. As if on a cheerful picnic, they all set off with their wives, including the reluctant Enrico Nardi, who was unaccustomed to long trips and hesitant about the outcome of the operation. In the days preceding the race weekend, tests began on the circuit. Damonte and his friend Roger Crovetto were officially entered in the competition as official drivers, while Gino Munaron and Molino as the reserves, as prescribed by the regulation which obliged two racing drivers to take turns and the intervals they deemed appropriate. Right from the start, it was clear that driving the bisiluro was very demanding, and that the car behaved differently at the Le Mans track compared to the tests carried out on Stupinigi and Monza. The Lassart circuit is in fact a non-permanent 13,626 meter track made up of approximately two-thirds of department roads which are closed to vehicular traffic at the time of the race, and the remaining part of the Bugatti circuit. It's characterized by wide curves that can be taken at a speed, some must be taken in first gear, as well as the very long Unadiers straight of 6.75 km, where peaks of around 280 km per hour are reached. Gino Munaron described the sensation behind the steering wheels like this. The car has strange reaction every now and then. A slight dip is enough to see it breaking down. You have to continually correct the steering wheel to make it go straight by gradually increasing the throttle carefully, because you risk bringing back to abruptly, and if this happens at 150 km per hour, is very trouble. By increasing the speed towards 180 km per hour, the suspension suddenly lightened because the car seemed to receive a push from underneath, which lifts it, and only by taking your foot off the gas pedal does it return to normal. At the end of the long straight, I change all the gears before the Mulsanne curve, which must be taken in first gear. I turn right and accelerate, and the car breaks down completely, pointing the nose outwards. I correct the trajectory with the steering wheel, I apply the gas, and the car resumes with good progression until, near the pits, I make a mistake in suddenly taking off the gas, and the car suddenly breaks down, sway to the right, and I have to take it back using the steering wheels and the gas pedal again. Saturday won't be a walk in the park. The lack in the setup is therefore evident. Even the cooling created problems, as it was insufficient, and some sheet leaves were positioned on the radiator so as to make a greater quantity of air to converge the radiating mass. Furthermore, a big problem arose. Charles Faroux, the head of the race commissioner, notified the Italian team that the bisiluro did not comply with Annex C of the sport category regulation, and it does not have a second seat in the cockpit, nor the relevant door, and therefore cannot be admitted to the competition. After a quick consultation with Nardi, a space was created above the aerodynamic brake for a folding seat. The makeshift intervention, however, forced the cutting of a frame tube which stiffened the general structure of the tubular chassis, which been already stretched to the limit, and was further weakened. However, not carrying out this operation meant not participating in the race, and therefore they proceed. It's 4 p.m. of Saturday 11th May when Count Aimo Maggi dropped the French flag, kicking off the race.
5 minutes to go. Pit gallery, counters, stands and terraces to the rails are jammed. 2 minutes to go. The crowd grows quiet. All eyes focus in one direction on one man who holds a flag. 1 minute, 45 seconds, 30, 15.
The bisiluro is in the back of the grid and starts third to the last. Mario Damonte is at the wheel. After the first hour of race, he always maintained this position, while in the second hour he drops to the penultimate position. The reality of things shows how demanding it is to drive this asymmetrical car, with the weight arranged toward the outside, which is broken down both to the right and to the left, where the racing driver, to his position of the top right, has a completely distorted perception of the movements of the car, forcing him to continuously adjust its trajectory as long as he used the steering wheel and the gas pedal only gently. Eventually, in his fastest lap, at an average of 143 km per hour, Damonte stopped the stopwatch at 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
At Mulsanne and the end of the straight, after braking to 35 from up to 185 miles an hour, and they're still as close as sardines in a tin. But the little twin-boom Nardi from Italy gets more speed from its 730cc engine than its brakes can hold, finds the escape road and eventually the course.
At 6:28 p.m., immediately after the Mulsanne curve, Damonte entered in the slipstream of Mike Hawthorne's Jaguar D. Taken by surprise by the turbulence, he swerved, lost the control of the car, and hitting the left embankment with his nose, crossed the track sideways subsequently, ending up in the right embankment which crashed with the rear part. Slightly injured in the face, he was forced to retire. Few send the sporting adventure of the Italian trio on French soil. A few weeks later, there will be a setting of scores at the Civil Court of Turin between Damonte and Molino, caused by a furious argument of the division of the cost of the car and the failure of the expedition, which will also involve Nardi as the manufacturer. After that unfortunate experience, Molino archived his passion for racing and cars definitely. Today, the bisiluro Dalmonar is preserved at the Science and Technology Museum in Milan. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share this video.